Rob Thompson, SportsBiz Radio. We got a real slacker today on our show, Robert Owens, and you look great in the car. I think this might be my first interview inside a car, so this is perfect.
You know what? It's fun to see you in that nice blue shirt and WNHU in the back, and you look golden.
See, this microphone's not even working. It's just a prop. I'm just talking into it like a moron right now. I got, it doesn't matter. It's a complete prop. Thank you so much. I don't even, I gotta be honest with you. I don't even know where to begin, how to describe what you've done, because there's certain people that you hear about and you read about, but there's other people that, and a lot of it you could just tell is make believe. But then you get Robert Owens,
Come on.
and I look at what you've done as far as competition, Ironman, multiple. I mean, the list goes on and on. But basically, keynote speaker, adventurer, which is that in and of itself is amazing. Business consultant, Ironman, triathlete, special ops. You're a guy that I think, like I told you before, the things in business with mental toughness and the things that you've been able to do through your whole life, and then what you talked to me before about that senior, that part of your life that you really need to go all out and challenge yourself. To me, that's your message. What I'd like to hear my audience, I like to have them hear your message to them about just mental toughness, self-awareness, challenging your body and your mind, that then translates into, being a good business person and a good operator.
Ask me a question. Give me a direction on this. I could go all over the place.
What was that moment in your life? That was a pretty good introduction, by the way, I think.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I want to meet that guy.
Yeah. So what was that moment in your life where you had something very special mentally, and how you challenged yourself to be a triathlon and do the things that you've done physically?
Let me go back, because it's one of those self-discovery things. I'm an adopted kid, don't know my mom and dad, got picked up by a really nice family, adopted me. I always felt average. They were all 4.0s, Phi Beta Kappa out of Stanford, Phi Beta Kappa out of USC, UCLA. Then I come along. And I'm not your academic superstar, and I had no real interest. So I looked for my identity. I was born with bad feet, so I had corrective shoes through 6th grade. Didn't run. People didn't want me on their team. I had rejection, and people have issues, then work around their stuff, and it either crushes them or it makes them. When I got to high school, I got into a real competitive swimming and water polo program. My high school coach became the U.S. Olympic swim coach. So he went from my high school to Long Beach State, University of Michigan, then head U.S. Olympic swim coach, John Urbanchuk. Anyway, when I got in there, I was a nothing again. I just, all these guys were AAU swimmers or age group swimmers, and I was starting in 10th grade. And he said to me, "Oh, you're a nice kid, but you're not going to do much here." And I said, "I understand." He said, "But if you'll work hard and learn to work hard, you can beat talent." And I said, "Really?" He said, "So we don't expect, to get many points in swimming. You score in water polo, that's a great thing. But we got guys going on the Olympic team from my high school. We got 6 guys who are getting D1 scholarships in water polo. You're just a nice 10th grader." So when it came time, my big win, the light turned on when all the guys were lifeguards at the beach, and you had to be 16. And so my sophomore year, I have a late birthday, so I was 15 and a half. And I said to the guys, I would like to go down and try out to see what it was going to be like for next year. And they said, "Sure, go on down and see what you can do." And the coach said to me, "Robert, you're going to be going against UCLA guys, UCI guys, San Diego State swimmers, high school swimmers. You're going to have to be in your game." And I was a beach guy because my folks had raised me at my grandparents' house at the beach. So I went down and started studying the tides and the currents of what it was going to take to And so as I asked the guards questions, I put together a plan and began to train. And I trained to know the water and the conditions and the waves, the, all that stuff more than a pool swimmer would know. So the Saturday morning that I went down, there was about 60 guys trying out for 10 slots. And I had thought, if I could watch, if I knew this current right, anyway, I got in this current and I did the thing and I got a first place. And I body surfed past all the fast pool swimmers. So there was 3 events and I got a first place. And then the second race, I did it again and I got a first place. And the third race, I was so stoked and they were so amazed that I took a third place. So here I am, 15 and a half, underage, illegal to be hired with 2 firsts and a third. And when they interviewed me, like, who are you and how'd that happen? I said, well, your guards sort of gave me mentorship on how to do this pier and these currents and these waves. And they said, we would never think that a kid like you, I mean, I'm maybe 5'10", 145. We never thought a kid like you could do this. And I said, my coaches told me that I'm only average, but I can outwork talent if I'm smart.
Mm.
And they then said, that's huge. And I said, I just am happy. So I said, but I'll be a great guard next year because I'm only 15 and a half. And they went and said, see ya. And they called me the next Thursday and said, hey, Robert, would you like to be a lifeguard? We went to the city and asked for a waiver on their insurance program. And we've got a waiver for you. Would you like to be a lifeguard at 15 and a half?
That's awesome.
And the light turned on for me that, and the name of my book is called Beyond Average, that some of us aren't superstars. Some of us aren't elite athletes. Some of us aren't the smartest, pencil in the thing. But when we apply ourselves, we get our why squared away, why we're doing it, and at what cost we're willing to pay to attain what we want to attain, we can beat better talent. We can find a place to compete. It's not all about just your gene pool. So that when I went into pararescue, again, my pararescue guys, the lifeguards who became pararescue guys in Navy SEALs, they said, hey, Owens, this is what you got to do if you're going to go in. And we will give you some notice that for these 6 months, if you'll do this, you can do this thing. So being insecure, poor self-worth, average, I trained like my life depended on it because I knew that the really good guys were going to show up. When I went in, lo and behold, I kept my head down and I shut up and I just stayed out of sight. And all of a sudden I was doing really well. And all my training for the 6 months prior, all the burpees and the sit-ups and the stairs and the sand stuff and the ocean stuff, out of 157 guys, we graduated 7 and they made me team leader. And in that process, again, that light went off and said, Robert, you may be an average guy like the book Grit, but if you'll just do the deal and you'll work at it, you can do things with your life. And they made me team leader over the whole thing. So at that moment, I really grew up because the military then said, not only are we going to work you, but we're going to make you have responsibility. And I was getting a master's degree in irresponsibility most of my life.
Yeah.
I was drunk and crashing cars. I was in jail by 16, for being drunk. And I was just having a great time being a stupid athlete guy. Anyway, when that happened, again, the next building block of mental toughness or resiliency was you're going to have to embrace suffering, like David Goggins says. And your future is in everything that's uncomfortable to you. And if you'll embrace the suffering, if you'll embrace the uncomfortability, if you'll embrace the suck and know that, as Mark Devine from SEALFIT says, the 20X principle lies in that suck, that when you don't run from it, but you run into it and you learn to make it your best friend, that it's not there to crush you, it's there to develop you, then you can continue to just do things that most people say you can't do. The challenge is, if you live around mediocre, average people, they'll always try to protect you from hurt and pain. But the hurt and the pain is where the growth is, because you can't have a win without a battle.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be an overcomer without overcoming. And everybody wants to be comfortable, but you can't be comfortable and do anything significant with your life. Or as I say to some, there are times in your life that you have to live an unbalanced life, because to do something great means you have to go into a zone where you have to block everything else out. And you got to get sign off from the relationships that you know, like, is this okay, or are you going to divorce me? You know, or is this okay because I'm not going to be around much? Or is this okay, I'm not going to drink with you anymore? Is this okay because I'm going to have to completely change my paradigm and be unbalanced to attain the kind of things that I need to attain? And then I can come back and be balanced. And then people ask me to come speak, and they'll pay money to hear you speak about your unbalanced past. When you did things, then you go back and become balanced again. But everybody tries to be balanced all the time, and they can't do all the things that they need to do, because you have to embrace those moments and go for it. How's that for a start?
I love that. Yeah. All right. That was perfect. So what do you say? What do you say to those entrepreneurs that are out there that are just starting their business right now, that might be struggling, or they're taking that, hey, it's a loss, or we failed, and that's okay because it's a learning experience? Do you buy into that philosophy of it's okay to fail because I'm going to learn something from it?
Well, I just know that I've been failing most of my life. And you either choose to embrace it personally and say, since I failed, I'm a failure, because most people poor self-worth, they own it.
Mm-hmm.
Or as an athlete, you know, you get a 20th place before you get a 15th. And you get a 10th place before you get a first place. And failure is all you do is you climb that ladder to where you want to go. So I like failing in the sense that you can fail forward or fail backward. And anything that I do that's new, I'm going to struggle at. But I'd say to your entrepreneurs out there, you know, people say practice makes perfect, and it's not true. Perfect practice makes perfect. There is practice that's stupid. You can work hard and go nowhere. So for me, I think mentoring and finding a mentor, finding a coach and a teacher to help you so that you don't have to make every mistake in the book is wisdom. And some guys just say, I'm going to go for it. And I say, well, bless your heart, knock yourself out. Tell me how it works for you. And then they just give it a year or two. And, you know, most businesses fail in the first year or so, 90% first year businesses. Wow, that was really hard. Well, maybe if you'd asked the right questions and gone to the right people and showed some humility, you know, somebody might have taken mercy on you and helped you and kept you from doing what you did. So for me, my thing on the 20X principle, which we teach in SEALFIT, is there's 20 times more potential in you than you've ever allowed someone to bring out in you, and that you can't do it on your own. You need a mentor, a coach, a trainer, a Navy SEAL instructor to bring out in that kid what that kid would never, ever want to do on his own because it was too difficult. He'd back off. But you need someone to those places. Entrepreneurs, ideas are great, and enthusiasm is great unless it's stupid. And so you want to find people who've made all the mistakes, ask them what mistakes they make, give you the top 3 mistakes they made, tell you what they would do different the next time, and try to learn that stuff so you don't have to wheel and be like a lot of entrepreneurs that just have problems. So wisdom to me is different than knowledge. And knowledge is nice, but wisdom is better. And you want at a young age to be as wise as you can be. And those two words are not synonymous, young and wise, right?
Well,
So
yeah.
people call me all the time, you know, hey, Robert. And I say, what is it that you don't know? The big question should be, what questions should I ask you that I don't even know to ask you? And then they say, well, what do you know so far? And then you have the dialogue. And I help young people all the time because they're zealous. They want to do great things, but they just don't know enough to get out of their own way. And they need to be mentored.
How do people, before I forget, because I don't want to do it at the end, I want to do it now, but how do people find you? How do they reach out to you? What's your website? Could they buy your book on your website?
The book comes out in about 2 weeks. I was just I'm in my car because I just came from putting more pictures in it. And my editor is going nuts. Like, don't you have enough pictures in your book? But it's called Beyond Average and it comes out on Amazon, I don't know, a couple weeks. But they can find me at my name. My name is RobertHamiltonOwens.com. Hamilton, like the stage play. RobertHamiltonOwens.com. And that's my website. And people contact me there all the time.
Wonderful.
All my stuff's there.
So this is going to be, I know this is probably going to be, it's probably going to be my last question, but I think it is going to be a doozy. How did you overcome, you mentioned you had a bunch of failures in your life. We all have, but how did you overcome yours?
You know, we're breaking up. Can you tell that we're breaking up?
No.
Okay.
I thought we just started dating.
Ask me that question again.
So how did you overcome your failures in your life? What were the tricks and tips that you could give on overcoming those failures to keep going?
I had to change my friends. I had to get away from excuse-minded people. And at every level of life, the higher the level you go, the more you leave behind old friends. That's really painful. So most people don't want the emotional pain of saying goodbye to people who want to keep you back where they are. And so I would find people that were winners and successful and open to having a guy like me ask them questions. And I'd share my mistake or my failure. And I'd say, what would you have told me if you'd been able to tell me before I failed? And they would have said, I would adjust the knob or the dial over here differently in these areas of your life, personally, relationally, socially, financially, what you're reading, your lifestyle. And I would allow them to speak into my life and say, if you adjust a few of these knobs and dials, you can make this the second time around. And sure enough, almost every time that happened, it worked.
Wow, that's awesome. What advice would you give to yourself? You know, and this is my final question. So what advice would you give to yourself, your 20-year-old self, if 20-year-old Robert Owens was sitting in the seat next to you, what advice would you give him?
Protect yourself from yourself.
That's simple.
I was full of energy. I was full of life. Lived in my van with my skis and my surfboard. You know, I just had no limits. I just wanted to live life and be full and experience everything. I think I needed a big brother in my life to say, be careful, that I would listen to. Because I didn't have a big brother. I didn't have someone that I would just look up to and process stuff by. Each event, military, non-military stuff, I had to find new people to talk to. I didn't have one constant person that I could bounce things off of as a kid of two in a family. And my sister was way older than me. So I was alone. And it was survival of the fittest of my own ideas with myself. And I couldn't go to my dad. He didn't relate to me. He thought I was just nuts. And so you just sort of survive yourself. And what you don't want to do in life is survive yourself. You want to have some big brother, somebody you respect, that you'd say, I want to bounce these ideas off you and thoughts. And would you recommend? Of course, they're going to say no to a lot of it. And then would I listen? And, most young people don't want to listen. They know everything. And the only thing good about being older is laughing when I see young people and going, well, tell me after you crash, come on back and tell me how it went, I love you and I'll still be your friend, but dude, that was costly. You want to do that one again?
Right.
No idea, and okay, I'll be here a year from now, come back, tell me how you hit that wall. So giving advice to 20-year-olds or having 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds ask for advice is a rare thing.
Yeah.
And, I wish that I'd known more to be able to ask that. But again, let me just say, there were men in my life that changed my life. And thank God that there were men that believed in me and saw raw talent in me and tried to put a bit in this horse's mouth and put a saddle on me. And, they tried to break me in. Some of them did really well. And I'm alive today because some men really, really said good things to me at the right time and protected me from myself.
Well, mentorship is so huge. I talk about it all the time. Find somebody, find multiples at different points in your life. I could use a mentor. Even now at 52, because I don't think I know it all. I survived in this industry. I don't know how, many wounds coming out of it, but it's so important. I agree. And you're a class
So,
expert. Thank you so much for being on and spending time with us today.
hey, good. I just always say to men, I say, or to ladies, I say, you should always have somebody 10 to 15 years older than you that you're meeting with, and you should always be giving back to 10, 15, 20 years behind you to keep perspective of where you are. And if you can keep the older and the younger in your life, it'll balance you on you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just have you, and that is narrow. You know, each decade is different. In my 30s, I thought different than my 40s, my 50s, my 60s. And if I can have other decades around me, it rounds me out versus me just being me in that decade and hope I make it through that decade.
Well, it's amazing. I'm definitely going to grab your book when it comes out in 2 weeks, and I hope we can stay in touch. Let's do this again. Next time I'm out in Southern California, I want to take a ride in that car with you.
Hey, let's go have a cup of coffee or something and let's hang out.
All right, man.
And all those listeners out there, you know, your best days are ahead. Remember, it's just your decisions that determine your destiny. And you show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. So you just got to be careful who you put in your life, because you'll be monkey see, monkey do, and birds of a feather flock together, and losers hang with losers, and smart people hang with smart people. And you got to be careful.
Yeah. Words of wisdom. Robert Owens, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being on SportsBiz Radio. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for doing the great job.
All right, man. We'll see
All
you
right,
then.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.